Wonderful. Thank you, Christopher. And a big thank you to the City of Seattle Department of Parks and Recreation, and of course, all of you at the Arboretum Foundation. We really value this partnership in our efforts to keep the Arboretum up and running and providing great service to the citizens of Seattle and the region. I've had the pleasure to be interim director since February when Fred Hoyt retired, and continued in my role as curator. Next slide. Our pandemic impacts have been like many others. However, one of the good things that we've all noticed over the past year and a half is the visitation to the Arboretum, which has just been exceptional. Last spring had wonderful weather. This spring, actually, despite it being a little cool, had great weather. So we've really continued that amazing level of visitorship that on nice days would often rival what we would see on a typical Mother's Day, which is our busiest time of the year typically. However, revenue generating programs did take a very large brunt of our financial toll this year. We were down about $850,000, and so sadly had to engage in quite a few furloughs and several layoffs. The layoffs are primarily in the facilities services area. After initially being told to plan for 15% budget cuts and planning for several levels, we fortunately were recently informed with the passage of the recent state budget that no permanent state budget cuts will be taken. So we're very grateful for that news, and that'll allow us to rebound fairly quickly. In our education programs, it was a nice story. We were able to pivot pretty successfully to online learning, and adult education, and especially symposia, saw increased attendance with just about every program we offered. And it also enabled us to reach a larger audience across the region and across the state, and indeed even throughout the Northwest in some cases. Last year, summer camp was greatly reduced. We still had a small cohort. This year, we're able to have a little bit more, but we'll still be at quite reduced capacity from typical years. This fall, we will be adding a third Fiddleheads Forest School classroom. And one of the nice things that will allow us to do is offer a all-day option for the first time, which will be a great benefit to our working families out there. We've also expanded our reach into the community. We have a very large waiting list of over 200 families, and we're starting to prioritize having a balance among the zip codes in the city, in addition to looking at other resources. Since I'm interim director, I have been keenly aware of what the next part of this process will be. The UW Botanic Gardens recently, the college above us and the School of Forest and Environmental Sciences in particular, just appointed an academic director. So that was a big decision made to split up the roles, which had led to troubles in recruiting successful candidates in the past. So our new academic director is Josh Lawler. He's been at the School of Environmental and Forest Sciences since 2007. Recently elected to the Ecological Society of America as a fellow, which is a pretty high honor in his field. He's doing some exciting work with climate change, nature and health programs, and conservation, and will be a good fit in helping us expand our research options and campus impact. The search committee for the director, which will now be more of an executive director position, commenced in March. With applications being given first priority for those that were received by May 1st. There were 25 applicants and 13 were selected for the series of first round interviews with city, foundation, and community representatives. We've started the interview process. There's 3 finalists, and they'll be being interviewed this week and next, and I think recordings of those will go out as those occur. And the search committee will make a recommendation to the director of the School of Environmental and Forest Sciences, and that process should wrap up fairly quickly, hopefully by the end of June. So this is moving much faster than a typical process in the past. One of the exciting things that we're looking forward to and starting the planning process on is the return of 28 acres of land to the Arboretum. Prior to the construction of the 520 bridge in the early 60s, there was about 50 acres of land that was taken for that project. Some of that had been returned previously, but with the removal of the ramps to nowhere and a new configuration for the new bridge, after construction ends, 28 acres will be added. Formerly, this was the Rose family collection in the Arboretum prior to 520. And with this new land, we'll be working closely with the community and how that's programmed. That will allow us to add quite a bit of more parking, which has been in short supply for many, many years, and especially exacerbated during the pandemic, but can also lead to new collection areas, new areas to recognize the history of the land and the peoples that have come before us and still are here in our native populations, and also will enable us to do some restoration of Arboretum Creek. Currently, it flows into a culvert at the Wilcox Bridge and then empties into Lake Washington through an impassable barrier. So with this project, which we hope to start in advance of turning over the rest of the land, since it's outside the current footprint, that will enable us to finally reconnect Arboretum Creek and a fish-friendly passage for the first time since the early 1900s. The other thing that will be a great benefit is the extension of the Arboretum Loop Trail that will continue through the new area. And that will also connect over the land bridge that's being built for this purpose over 520. That will be for pedestrians and bicyclists. And that will offer a much more direct connection to the University District and the Montlake neighborhood. So we're very excited about those improvements along with several others. And we hope to have the first release of mitigation funding for that shortly. So perhaps we can get started on construction of that portion of the project that revolves around the creek and traffic improvements as early as 2025. And with that, I thank you for your time, and I will turn it over to the next report, and that will be Mike Riley talking about governance. Thank you very much.